Going on, everybody? Today's Tuesday, March 3rd. My name's Danny Gutierrez. Thank you for joining me on this episode of the Total Fight Mike. And we are 3 days removed from UFC Fight Night. Hi, Grayson. We are 3 days removed from UFC Fight Night. Figueiredo versus Benavidez, which was supposed to be for the vacant flyweight title, but Figueiredo missed weight, and I think it was by 2.5 pounds, and the fight actually ensued, and it lasted 2 rounds, and for what it was, it looked pretty good until there was a headbutt collision, and Figueiredo caught Joseph Benavidez with a right hand that just dropped him and KO'd him. That was crazy. And it's very unfortunate for Benavidez because now he's 0-4 in all of his title fights. He went 0-2 against Dominic Cruz, and then he went 0-2 against Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. He only dropped that one from Sergio Pettis. But other than that, in the UFC, he looked phenomenal. And this looked to be his time to claim his stake in the division. And unfortunately, Deiveson Figueiredo had other plans. Now, this is a thing where guys there are various fighters who have missed weight at 125, and it happens more often than not at 125. I'm sure statistically, if you look at all the brackets, that the numbers are about even, but it seems to be in the weight class of 125 pounds in the UFC that a lot of guys are having trouble making the weight by a few pounds or even a large margin. Guys like John Lineker come to mind, and he's a destroyer. There's like literally nuclear bombs in his hands, and he's so small, and he hits very hard, and he moved up, and unfortunately they cut him for undisclosed reasons, but I mean, the UFC is going to do what they're going to do. It's kind of unfortunate for Joseph Benavidez because, again, he's 0-4 in his title fights. He may be known as one of those best guys that actually never won a title. One of the greatest fighters to have never won a title. Training partner of his, Uriah Faber, is another guy that is owning up to that title because he always fought for a title and was never able to regain his WEC status when he was the man in WEC in the mid 2000s, before the 2010s, leading in the 2010s, excuse me, before the UFC and Zuffa absolved the WEC and their weight brackets. But it's unfortunate for Benavidez, but it's good news for Figueiredo. What to do next? I would initiate a rematch because of the fact that there was a headbutt collision, and it did open up a cut over Benavidez's eye. Excuse me. And Figueiredo did catch Benavidez with a right hand that did drop him, but it could be due to the headbutt. We don't know. He also missed weight, so why not make this for the So why not make this for the vacant flyweight title again? But I don't know if he'd be able to make that a co-main event. It would have to be one of those cards where it's a triple title fight, so maybe schedule a rematch at the end of the summer, or not the end of the summer, maybe in the middle of the summer for International Fight Week. And yeah, those are my 2 cents for UFC on ESPN Plus. However, there was a DAZN card too. There was boxing, and it was Mikey Garcia versus Jesse Vargas. Jesse Vargas had fought guys like Adrian Broner, and had fought to a draw with him. Mikey Garcia, he's fought guys like Errol Spence Jr. It was his last fight, and he moved up in weight his first bout out, and at the welterweight division, which is at 147 pounds, and by boxing standards. Excuse me, guys, I just heard something. So, Mikey Garcia and Jesse Vargas fought against each other, and it was a very grueling fight, actually. Mikey Garcia got 2 knockdowns, I believe. But, Jesse Vargas was hanging in there with hooks to the body, and he was trying to come back with his lead left hook counter when Mikey Garcia would actually come in with his jab. But I say this all the time, and whenever I watch Mikey Garcia fight, I've been watching him fight for a while, and this is very shameful to say as a combat sport fan. I never remember the names of his fighters unless they give him trouble, and Jesse Vargas was one guy that actually gave him trouble. It's okay, Grayson, calm down. And Jesse Vargas was really hanging in there. Even after those knockdowns, he was smiling, and he would get back up, and his face was bruised. but Mikey Garcia has this lead left hand that's it's so accurate and it's so precise. Like his jab, his hook, his lead uppercuts, like you forget that he has a right hand to fall back on to throw. And he's got a powerful right hand, but there's a lot of dexterity in his lead left hand for all sorts of weapons, defensively and offensively. And that's something that very much impresses me about Mikey Garcia whenever I watch him fight. And it looked like Jesse Vargas was kind of trying to capitalize on that weapon with that lead left hook, but it wasn't meant to be, and Mikey Garcia was just a better boxer that night. He said he did want a rematch with Errol Spence Jr., but a lot of guys are trying to campaign for Errol Spence Jr. versus Terrence Crawford, and I think Terrence Crawford is scheduled to fight an English boxer who's Kell Brook. Terrence Crawford is rumored to fight Kell Brook. I think they're actually scheduled for it. I'm not really sure. But, yeah, there's a lot going on in boxing and MMA right now. Speaking of this weekend, I believe it's March 8th. Well, this Saturday in Las Vegas, Israel Adesanya will be defending his middleweight title against Yoel Romero, and Weili Zhang will be taking on the former 115-pound champ in Joanna Jędrzejczyk, excuse me. I know we're in Illinois, and there are a lot of Polish people in Illinois, so there's a lot of Polish Joanna fans out there, so shout out. But these are pretty interesting title fights. You have two title fight headliners. So when Weili Zhang came into the UFC, she fought girls like, oh my goodness, these names are escaping me. I work second shift, guys. I apologize, but when Weili Zhang came into the UFC, she was undefeated, and she was just blowing. She is undefeated. She only has that one loss, and she was just blowing through everybody. And then she got to the champ, Jessica Andrade, and she blew through her in the first round when Andrade was known to be very durable, kind of like the Tyson of the division, you know, was able to throw hooks very, very effectively and with authority. The knockout of Karolina Kowalkiewicz comes to mind when you just see her flatline her and she falls. It's things like that make you go, whoa, these girls can really fight. And when you watch Weili Zhang train, when you watch her fight, you're just like, Jesus Christ. It's just a whole nother level of mixed martial arts. That's why she's the champ right now. And Joanna Jędrzejczyk is trying to capture that again. She lost her... hold on, Grayson. She lost her title bouts against Rose Namajunas. And she was the champ for about 2.5 years, 3 years. And she also fought Valentina Shevchenko for the 125-pound title. Hi, Grayson. And, again, kind of like Uriah Faber, she's been trying to regain that glory, that championship glory, that elite-level glory. But, sorry, guys, my dog's all over me. Hi, Grayson. But when it comes to Joanna Jędrzejczyk, she's got elite-level Muay Thai, and she loves setting up traps with her fakes and her feints, and that comes from the tutelage of guys like Mike Thomas Brown over at American Top Team. Her takedown defense is phenomenal. She's phenomenally strong in the clinch. She's got great offense and defense in the clinch because of her Muay Thai and her wrestling defense training. When you look at Weili Zhang, she comes from, I believe it's Sando. She does have a Kung Fu background, but I believe Sando or Sancho is the striking martial art that she started in. Which is basically Chinese kickboxing with throws. So Chinese kickboxing with wrestling. It's very similar to what Kung Lee, the Vietnamese kickboxer from California, was very dexterous at. His style was very good with... it was very kick-heavy. He threw a lot of the spinning techniques, and he was able to defend takedowns very well because of his wrestling high school background and his kickboxing background, his Sancho background, which incorporates a lot of the throws and wrestling clinches and wrestling positions. So that is going to be a very interesting fight. Now, let's look at the main event. When you have somebody like Israel Adesanya take on a destroyer like Yoel Romero, you are bound to have fireworks. So Israel Adesanya is a very tactical striker. He does come from a Muay Thai background, Taekwondo background. He's kickboxed in China. He's kickboxed Alex Pereira. And he's just made the hard road to the top. That war with Calvin Gastelum for the interim title was a phenomenal display of heart and grit. And then you see his fight against Robert Whittaker, and it's just a masterclass of setting traps and faking and feinting and moving off the angles and creating angles, and he's just a phenomenal striker. He's just a masterclass martial artist, specialist, if you will. Grayson. Sorry, guys. But when it comes to Yoel Romero, he's a Olympic silver medalist for his nation of Cuba. And when you look at his record of UFC victims, they are all devastating knockouts. You look at the fight with Derek Brunson, it was Clifford Starks. Those are devastating knockouts. Chris Weidman, Luke Rockhold, you just go down the list of guys and former champions. He's destroyed them all. So, again, Yoel Romero missed weight against his 2 title fights against Luke Rockhold, his interim title fight, and then his actual title fight against Robert Whittaker. Now, a lot of people feel like he should have won that fight, but it was a very close fight. It was a phenomenally close fight, and both guys were very bloody. Both guys were taking it to each other. Both guys, I think, had injured legs. I believe Yoel Romero incorporated side kicks to the thigh on Robert Whittaker, and that messed up his leg. And then Robert Whittaker incorporated against Yoel Romero, and that jacked up Yoel Romero's leg in their rematch. So that's how that went. Yoel Romero is coming off of, was it 3 losses, the 2 back-to-back fights against Robert Whittaker, and then but they were very close fights. And then the consensus #1 contender fight against Paulo Costa, Boratinha, the Eraser in Portuguese, as it translates. But that's another undefeated up-and-comer who was actually supposed to get this title fight, but Israel Adesanya said, no, I want the monster. I want the man that nobody wants to fight. I want Yoel Romero right now. And we're going to see how it all plays out on Saturday. So I want to thank you guys so much for tuning in on this episode of the Total Fight Mike. I want to thank you guys for putting up with me and my dog. I thank you guys so much for the support. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe. And remember, April 25th, Joe Goitia has, in the Cicero Stadium in Cicero, Illinois, Total Fight Challenge. So thank you so much for joining me on the Total Fight Mike. And I will see you guys in the sequel. Grayson wants to say goodbye. Bye, everybody.